Alrighty, welcome back. In the next section here in chapter 24, we are talking about extensions. Extensions are continuing the stack of thirds from root 3-5, root 3-5-7, continuing above the 7th and adding the 9th, the 11th, and the 13th. Now, if it's natural, if it occurs naturally in the key, meaning let's say in this case, we're talking about the key of C major. If we have the 5 chord, which is G, then a natural ninth would be a whole step above G plus an octave. So you can remember that 9, 11, and 13, if you subtract 7 from those, so 9 is the same as 2. So what's the natural 9 above G? Well, what's the second above G? A. So A natural would be the ninth. They put an A flat in here just so that we've got something to talk about. So it's a flat 9. A flat's a flat 9. A sharp would be the sharp 9. What's a natural 11? Well, it's the same as 4. So what's a perfect fourth above G? C. So the 11th is a C. 13th is the same as 6th, and you use the major 6th to find the natural 13th. So what's a major 6th above G? E, and E would be the 13th. E flat would be a flat 13. Back to the 11th, C sharp would be a sharp 11. Flat 11s just don't happen because they're enharmonic to the major third. That wouldn't make any sense. And sharp 13s don't happen because that would be enharmonic to the 7th, to the minor 7th interval, and that wouldn't make any sense. So we have 11ths and sharp 11s. We have 13s and flat 13s. Only with ninths do we have both flat and sharp 9s. Go back 30 seconds and listen to that again. All right. So most of the time, the ninths themselves, ninths are really, they sound like modified doubled roots, and you kind of want to hear them resolve back to the root. It isn't until we get into the Romantic period that we start to really consider these extensions as part of a chord and not just an embellished tone that's trying to get back to itself, like the way this ninth would want to resolve down. Let's listen to this. Flat 9. Scale degree lay, by the way. Flat 6 scale degree is the flat 9 on a 5 chord. You need that again. The flat 9 on a 5 chord is lay in the scale. Where does lay want to go? It wants to go to sol.
Example 24:14.
Oh my goodness. Well, you can imagine there's lay, sol. Okay, now you got it in your head. Let's see if we can hear it again.
Example 24:14.
That is just a terrible choice. Let's see if we get something more out of this. Here's 5-7 flat 9 again. This time we're in the key of E minor. Flat 9's diatonic because lay is diatonic. So here's our 5 chord, and here's where the melody is going to go to C over the 5 chord. And we'll hear that flat 9. Whoops. Let's try that again.
Example 24:15.
Bum, ba-dum. That's a very expressive tone. That lay is a popular one. We used it a lot in the mode mixture chapter. Here's Schumann using the dominant flat 9 in the key of A minor. Oh, please take your time. That looks like a slow tempo marking. Langsam.
Example 24:16.
Yeah, that was nice. You could really hear that. Le sol da dum, le sol. Fun. Boy, they just keep them coming. Oh, so here we're moving. We're going to put a ninth on a 4 chord here. Here's a minor 4 in the key of A minor. Held all the way through. This is going to be nice. Schumann. So, like we were talking about, Romantic period. Beethoven is early Romantic, end of the Classical era. Schumann, we're firmly in the Romantic period.
Example 24, 17.
Do you hear how jazzy that was? Very jazzy. And look at that voicing. That's a shell voicing. Root, third, seventh, ninth. Very jazzy. I want to hear it again. Hear the jazz in that chord.
Example 24, 17.
Very cool. Okay. In this case, we're adding some ninths. I'm looking up here, the description here. Yeah, things get crazy. You would never put an extension in the bass. So they're saying it's not going to work to put a ninth chord in fourth inversion. By the time you have inverted something to where the point where you've got the extension in the bass, your ear is just not going to hear that chord in the way you're envisioning it anymore. You've got to have it no further than the seventh in the bass, root third, fifth, or seventh. In this example, these are 5-4-3 chords, but they also have ninths in them. So it's an inverted 5-7, but it does still contain the ninth. Let's check this out.
Example 24, 18.
Very much a late 19th century French Impressionist sound. You can hear those gentle harmonies, chordal voicings. That's really pretty. So you can hear as we're adding these extensions, even though we're not in the jazz era yet, but you can hear jazz coming. Jazz is on its way. All righty, common tone diminished seventh. That's our last chord for chapter 24. And here's the deal. The deal is, oh shoot. Can I look at this one? There we go. The deal is you have, let's look at, yeah, look at this first one. Really straightforward. We're in the key of B flat. The idea behind a common tone diminished seventh is the easiest way to see it is to see where it goes first, because the chord that it is embellishing is the arrival of the chord. So we're heading to a B flat major chord. Look carefully at this voicing. I've got the root here in the tenor voice, the third in the bass, and then soprano and alto are both on the fifth of the chord. Okay, the basic idea behind the common tone diminished is that you are heading to a B flat major chord, but you are going to embellish it by putting a half step below the third, a half step below the fifth, and then a whole step above the fifth, which is also going to resolve to the fifth. Can you dig it? Here's my B flat major chord. I'm embellishing it by putting a half step below the fifth, or sorry, below the third, half step below the fifth, whole step above the fifth. But the B flat is common. If you were to spell this chord out, it would look like a sharp 2 diminished seventh chord. Okay. C sharp, E, G, B flat. It's a full diminished seventh spelled off of the raised 2 in the key. I'm in the key of B flat major. I go to C. I raise it a half step. I get C sharp. So that's the actual spelling of this chord. But this chord has nothing to do with C sharp diminished. It is not a 7 diminished chord in the key of D. No. It is purely a voice leading event. We are heading to this B flat. Actually, in this case, it's sort of a neighbor figure. We're heading to this B flat chord, and in this, like we're talking about, as a neighbor figure, it's being embellished as a chromatic lower neighbor, 5, sharp 4 back to 5, 5 up to 6 and back to 5, and then 3 down to sharp 2 back to 3. So again, you're heading to a chord and you embellish it by doing chromatic approach to 3, chromatic approach to 5, and another voice approaching 5 from above by a whole step. Re, mi, fi, sol, la, sol, and do is a common tone. That's why it's called common tone diminished, because the do is a common tone. The root of the chord that you're embellishing is a common tone. Here we are. We're still in the key of B flat major. So we're going to embellish this 5-6-5. It's an F dominant seventh chord. F, A, C, E flat. So which notes are going to be embellished? Well, F's the root, so that's going to be a common tone. It won't change. The third will be embellished with a half step, G sharp to A. The fifth will be embellished with a half step, B natural to C. And then the fifth again would be embellished with a whole step above, but in this case, instead of it coming down to the fifth, it's going to go up to the seventh. But again, the same notes, we have the same notes as we did over here. A half step heading to 3, half step heading to 5, and a whole step above 5 is the other voice. And then, of course, the common tone, which is the root of the chord that's being embellished. Woo, we got to hear one of these. Listen to this.
Example 24, 21.
It's pretty good. Doesn't have quite the same crunch, but the embellishment is very clear. Here we are embellishing a G major chord. What are the first two notes I always talk about when I talk about the common tone diminished 7? A half step approach to 3, half step approach to 5. And that's all there is in this one. Just the 3 and the 5. It's a 3-part texture. So again, half step approach to 3, half step approach to 5, common tone root. Let's do another one.
Example 24, 22.
Yum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Oh, we missed out on that cadence. Well, that's widely arpeggiated, but I think we should still be able to find all the stuff we need. Common tone diminished, heading to a C major chord, which means that let's find the third. Here's the third of C major. What's it going to be approached with? Half step. Let's find the fifth. Here's the fifth of C major. What's going to be approached with? Half step. F sharp to G. Here's the D sharp. Here's the F sharp again. So again, the half step to 3, half step to 5 are the most common and important tones in the common tone diminished. Here's another one.
Example 24, 23.
That's pretty cool. Again, embellishing this. In this case, it's a 5 chord. It's an A major chord. Let's just look at what's happening right there. That is super clear. Look at that, baby. There's the common tone, A. Here's the half step to C sharp. It's a B sharp, embellishing C sharp. Here's the half step to 5. It's a D sharp, embellishing the 5th. And then here's that other note embellishing 5th, the F sharp coming down a whole step. There it is. So when you need to write a common tone diminished, start with the chord that you're going to and back up and do that voice leading. Half step to 3, half step to 5. If it's a 4-part texture, another voice heading to 5 with a whole step above. Or in the case of the dominant 7th, and here it is right here, that F sharp, instead of coming down to 5, goes up to create the 7th. Boy, they just keep coming. Let's just keep listening.
Example 24, 24.
Right? That's what I'm talking about. What about this?
Example 24, 25.
Whew. That Brahms was a dense thinker, man. I'm going to stop it after this first chord, but you can really hear that chromatic approach. Let's hear it again. Listen to the common tone diminished and listen to those chromatic notes that want to push into the 3rd and 5th.
Example 24, 25.
Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. You hear those chromatic tones. What do we got here?
Example 24, 26.
Yeah, man. All right, so comes across as a sharp 4 diminished in the chord changes, but if you were to trace those tones of the sharp 4 diminished in the key of B flat, you would find there'd be enharmonic versions of those tones that would work as the common tone diminished. E diminished is an E, G, B flat, D flat. That D flat could move chromatically to D to make the 3rd. The E could move chromatically to F to make the 5th. And then the G would be that whole step above the 5th. More? Oh boy. They just keep coming. Let's go to this one. Joplin, he used these.
Example 24, 28.
Very nice. Yeah, that common tone diminished in the rags. Really clear sound. Okay, you can go through and listen to those. So I'm going to skip over to the workbook now and let's talk about what we'll do in the workbook right out of the gate. And that's for Wednesday. For Wednesday, let's just do this first section right here, so that we know that you've got a good handle on what these chords are made up of and how they resolve. A 4 major 9. So this is a 5-part texture. So go ahead and assume that you'll have all 5 notes of the 4 major 9, but make sure that they're going to resolve smoothly. Again, a little bit of jazz, harmony jazz theory. Make sure your sevenths are connecting. But no, wait, hang on. Scratch that. This isn't a shell voicing project right here. But just try to move your 4 major 9, all 5 tones of the 4 major 9 as smoothly as possible. Common tone diminished 7. Analyze this chord and then find those notes. Common tone diminished, chromatic into the 3rd, chromatic into the 5th, whole step above the 5th. Those are the notes you want. Sub 6th, instead of re going to do, and don't do it in the bass voice, do it up here in the soprano voice. Instead of re going to do, you're going to use the 3rd scale degree as a substitution for re. Augmented 5 chord, raise the 5th of the 5 chord. Also 5-part texture, so be careful there. 5-part texture here, common tone diminished. Augmented secondary function, watch out, that's just a triad. And I don't know what that is because you're going to figure it out. And then remember that your flat 9 on your 5-7 is the flat 6 scale degree, lay, sol. Also recognize that this is a 4-part texture and this is an extended chord. What's the first thing to go? The 5th. So all you need is root, 3rd, 7, and flat 9 on that chord. Do that for Wednesday. Love you dearly.